Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Drawing with Mr. Sepulveda. I'm Mr. Sepulveda, and on today's episode, we're going to be taking a little break from digital art and do some traditional art. And today's traditional art medium is going to be chalk. That's right, we're going to be creating some chalk art outside. And with Halloween coming around the corner, I figured I'd do a little tutorial teaching you how to blend some chalk together and how to create chalk paint. So today we're going to have a lot of fun because I'll be teaching you guys how to create a candy corn bat, a zombie, and a cat with a pumpkin on its head. So without further ado, let's change our scenery and let's go ahead and let's get started.
Alright guys, so here we are outside at a parking lot, and you guys can see that the medium that we'll be using is chalk, and I'm using a 24 pack of Crayola chalk. And so I'm going to grab a few colors for this candy corn bat. The first step is to use the white chalk to kind of sketch out an idea of what the size of this candy corn bat is going to look like. Afterwards, I'm going to divide up the three sections. So we've got a yellow section for the first part, orangey for the center, and white for the top. There's a few ways that you can blend using chalk. One way is to use tissue paper, right, like paper towels, or you can grab a glove like what I have on, and you kind of just start rubbing it in. And you can see, like, I'm trying to fill in as much of the gap as I can using that yellow chalk. Afterwards, I'm grabbing like a sunset orangey chalk, and then I'm going to try to blend that smoothly as I can, but I'm also going to try to put a little bit of that red in and blend in that yellow into that orange and blend the orange back into the yellow. So this way we kind of have a smooth gradient that we're creating, and it's a little bit more believable to look more like a real candy corn. Okay, and then after I feel like I've got the right colors, I end up doing the last layer, which is white, and we kind of repeat the processes here. We're gonna color it in first. We're gonna try to blend it in. I'm going to use tissue paper this time because my glove kind of ripped out. I'm also trying to remove some of the excess dust, but I will tell you this, you want to be careful because some of that dust kind of ends up back into your face or into your nose. You want to be careful, okay? For some of you guys, you may not know this, but you can turn chalk into chalk paint by simply putting the chalk or dipping the chalk into some water. So I keep dipping the tip of the chalk into the paint so that I can kind of go in there and start spreading it a little bit more. You get a different kind of texture than you do with the chalk, okay? You kind of see here that there is a difference between the powdery chalk when it's dry and the chalk paint when it's wet. You kind of see a little bit of the smoothness. You can kind of see that it fills in a little bit quicker, and you don't actually have to rub in anything. You can if you want to, but that's kind of the deal there with the bat, okay? So after I put in the wings and I put in the eyes, put in the ears, I put in the smile for the bat, and then I'm turning the white chalk that I used earlier into chalk paint and trying to put in a few highlights into the candy corn bat's eyes. You can probably see it a little bit better from this angle. And then I thought what would be pretty cool is if we give it kind of like a ghastly kind of glow, since this is kind of like near Halloween, right? So we'll end up putting in like a green outline, trying to make them a little bit spooky. I am dipping it into the water to create a green chalk paint with it, and I think it's kind of coming out pretty cool. And you guys can kind of see that I'm trying to wrap up this bat, or this candy corn bat, and I think this came out all right. What do you guys think about this candy corn bat? All right, so I'm going to take on another challenge here. Again, since Halloween's around the corner, one of my favorite things about Halloween are like zombies. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the same kind of steps that I did earlier. I'm going to use a piece of white chalk to try to sketch out what my zombie's going to look like, or approximate what he's going to look like. I decided to give him kind of like skinny cheekbones, deep sunken eyes. I gave him an open mouth, half-eaten head, right? So his brain is kind of showing. I ripped up his ear a little bit, ripping up his cheeks, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to just have an idea of like an eyeball hanging out and maybe a worm sticking from underneath his other cheek. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of layer the entire thing with blue. We're going to smooth it out. I'm using paper towels for this one. And then I'm going in with different shades of blue to try to create different textures. And then we're going to go into it with some darker blues and start blending them together so we can kind of start making it a little bit more three-dimensional, right, with all this shadow and the shading. I gave him some yellow wooden teeth, so some yellows and browns. I you could choose whatever color you want for the iris. So I made his eyeball a little bit green, a little bit yellowish. The brain's there. It looks really cool. You can kind of bump it up a little bit in contrast when you put in a little bit of white. And so you can kind of see, like, I'm going kind of crazy over here, blending in some of those reds. I'm trying to blow some of it out of the way. Again, you got to be careful when you do it because you don't want to breathe any of that in, especially if you have asthma or anything else, because you don't want to get all that toxic stuff into your body. Okay. After you pretty much color and you get them rendered the way that you want, I'm just going to go ahead and outline them. So I pretty much did this entire thing, this entire zombie one, without using any chalk paint, because I wanted to show you what it would look like with just the regular chalk, going all the way around this zombie. But I think he looks pretty cool. I'm actually really satisfied with it. Of the three, I think he's a little bit more scarier. I think he's a little bit more fun to look at. But I'm gonna have to let you guys really decide on that, and you'll have to let me know. Here I am, I'm just kind of giving him a little bit of hair, which I thought would be kind of funny, blowing out some of the excess dust, but again, try not to get too close when you do it. But what do you think about this cool zombie? Alright, so here's our final picture. This one's going to be a cat with a pumpkin on its head. And so I'm starting with that white chalk again. I'm trying to figure out what this pumpkin's going to look like. Right now it looks like an apple until I kind of give it that generic jack-o'-lantern feel. I do make it a little bit bigger, put the cat ears and the whiskers. I do wish, honestly, in hindsight, I would have left it the way it was, but I kept going and tried to give it a body with the tail that swirls up front. And for this piece, I'm going to try to do a little bit of all the things that we talked about. So a little bit of the blending in with the dry chalk, and eventually go in with some chalk paint to kind of pop them out a little bit. I didn't like the way that the mouth comes out of this one at the end of it, because it blends in too much with the red, yellow, and orangey pumpkin that I created. The chalk paint, as you guys can see here, it really does pop out differently, and I do try to smooth it out a little bit. I do try to mix some of the colors between the black and the blue. The black in the Crayola set kind of comes out a little bit more grayish. But you can kind of see how the blues and the purples kind of mix really nicely here. So it might just be the black. Maybe I need a different black from a different set, but ultimately I had fun. You could definitely see how the chalk, when it's wet, breaks apart a little bit quicker as well. So you might want to keep that in mind. Like, just watch out with how much pressure you lay down. But ultimately I had a lot of fun with this cat, especially putting in the details in the pumpkin. I do wish that I went back into it and put in some more white highlights into the pumpkin face, and that I darkened up the mouth, but ultimately I was really happy and satisfied with it. What do you guys think about this cat? And here's all the finished products. I think they came out pretty cool. I was really happy about this. The zombie, I think, is my favorite, but let me know if you like the candy corn bat or the pumpkin cat the most. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're new to this channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000. I'm happy to have you along on my art journey. If you want to see more videos like this where you get to draw along with me or learn a little bit more about some traditional artwork, please go ahead and look at that playlist right here in the card. Or if you want to see me draw some wild, crazy things, check out my Draw Jar series. Guys, next Tuesday we'll be drawing FNAF characters as dragons. So, can't wait to see you then. You all take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Bye-bye.